So here we are, the 14th episode of Life on Life's Terms. We have Larry back in the studio here today. How you doing today, Larry?
I'm tired, but I'm okay.
Yep. Yeah. What's going on? Why are you so tired?
Well, a lot of work that I don't like doing, cleaning and moving things and throwing things out, moving from one place to another.
Bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, when someone leaves some stuff behind and you got to clean up their stuff too.
Yeah. Do you feel like an ant?
Yeah.
You ever remember, in active addiction, addicts were like ants.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking move anything. They were like Mexicans. You give them $10, and it's just gone. You're not sure if it made it to the back of your truck or not, right? Anyway, let me do this plug here. So you can find Life on Life's Terms at iTunes, Spotify, Stitches, and Google Play. You can also find it at Justin Roberts' Life on Life's Terms at YouTube channel, and all of our content is there. You can also visit us at Patreon, and by doing so, you can make a one-time commitment of $30 and get t-shirts that are going to be on their way soon, as well as a $5 weekly commitment and get advanced content. So you're moving.
Yes.
Better or smaller? Bigger or smaller?
It's smaller, but it's also better.
Okay.
Right? And I had a discussion with someone from the fellowship the other day that was living with me.
Mm-hmm.
And they came on and said, "How's the new place?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I can't spend any time there because my roommate left me in the lurch, and I'm cleaning and moving and throwing shit away." And so the roommate came back and said, "Well, why didn't you phone me?" I don't think it's my responsibility to phone someone else when they know they've got something they should be doing, right?
Yeah.
And they came back and said, "Well, the big book says you deal with this in resentments." And I went back and said, "You know what? It does say that. I agree with you. It also says clean up the wreckage of your past and your present.
Yeah.
This would be your present."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I said to the person, I said, "I don't think I should have to ask you. You should do your duty and come over and help."
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's that. No big deal.
So, just spitballing here. Fucked up relationships. Have you had any?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, people do say my picker's broken, right? Yeah, I've had a couple. I'd say too many to count, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? And it goes back right from a young kid, right? Didn't know how to socialize with men or women, especially women, because, I was always scared of them and didn't think I was good enough. And, and then when I started drinking and doing drugs, I just didn't matter. I just have them over for sex and then they can go and, right? But I was always chasing one or two women around to try to catch them. Right,
Oh,
and the key word is chasing.
Chased them right out the fucking door, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chased them to Wabasca. I chased them to Sturgeon. I chased them all over the goddamn country. The one I really wanted, I got her to slow down, but I could never catch her, right?
Yeah.
And of course, unfortunately, because of drugs and alcohol, she's gone now, right?
Yeah.
But in the past 7 or 8 years, I've had a few relationships.
Yeah.
Some of them been good, some of them not so good.
Yeah, I can definitely identify with that. I've had some pretty shitty relationships myself. I always had a idea that I was holier than now for the most part in active addiction. And I always was supposed to be the hero. I thought I needed to put on that breast armor plate and go and save every woman that I've ever met in my entire life, right? A damsel always needs to be in distress in order to be in my world. And I was happy to oblige that all of the time. And that put me into some serious predicaments, I remember one time I came home and as I have noted, I was part of a group of organized people. And I came home and this person who I was with, my better half, decided to put my motorbike on Kijiji. So I come home and there's this guy looking at this motorbike and he had no idea who the hell I was. And I said, "Oh, nice bike, isn't it?" "Yeah," he said, "it's a great bike. But you see that emblem right there?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Fuck, nobody needs to buy this bike. They'll die if they do." I said, "Yeah, I know, it's my bike." He was happy and kind enough to walk down the driveway
And leave.
Yeah, got in his little Ford Taurus and went on down the road. You know, that was the classy women I picked. You know,
Well, I got some good ones too. Like, you know, a good gauge for me of if I picked a good woman, and usually I thought with my other head than the one on my shoulders.
yeah,
I'd go over to my parents' house, and when my mom was alive, I don't think she liked but one or two women I ever went out with, and there was quite a few. I'd say there's 15 to 20 that I went out with. She hated my mom's daughter. Didn't much like Rose, the one I went out with, and she's passed away now. And
yeah,
you know, you're talking about selling your motorcycle. Well, Rose, when she got mad at me, used to go for the TVs. And she got two before I could stop her on the third one, right? Or there was a time when she decided to throw her phone to teach me a lesson, right out the window of the car. And my reply was, "That's pretty brave, isn't it? Stupid, wasn't it? What are you going to do for a phone now?" "Well, you're going to get me one." "No, I'm not." But yeah, most of the relationships, they were as bad or worse than me in how to handle situations, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was never any good communication. It was fuck you, fuck off, eat shit, right? And they wouldn't talk when you were there. You would drive away and get 2 minutes down the road and you get 20 or 30 or 40 texts, right?
yeah, yeah,
And I'm surprised at some of the names the woman could come up with.
yeah.
1 minute you're a sweetheart, nice guy, and the next minute, little dick or old man or pervert or something, right? And the names came out and it was just crazy.
Yeah.
The emotional abuse was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, there is a study, and this is probably going to get me in a lot of shit to say this, but fuck it. So when it comes down to domestic abuse, okay, there's a lady in England. Her name eludes me at this moment, but from what I can remember, she was basically saying that both parties are subject to making the assault. You know, men have a fight or flight response. And when that fight or flight response happens, we either fight or we run. And typically we don't run because it's not biochemically engineered in us, okay? With women, it all goes back to the sandbox. When you're in the sandbox, either you're throwing sand or you're slugging it out. You know what I mean? That's how we play as boys. And with girls, they emotionally abuse each other. You know,
Yes. Yep.
And so this is projected later on in life. And let's face it, when we're in active addiction, we're not really the most mature adults in the fucking world, right? I mean, we just don't do that. And I'm not saying that it's right to hit a woman, but I'm also saying that it's not right for a woman to berate a man either. I think both sides need to accept their responsibility because it's not just one person who made this situation. There was an escalation on both sides.
Yep.
And it's very unfortunate that one of the sides ends up becoming a little bit more intimidated, or the police end up picking up one person as opposed to both parties trying to figure this out. You know, I'm sure that you can contribute to toxic relationships and coming to realize when they... So let me ask you, when did you know it was at that point of no return for a relationship?
You know, for me, it really took quite a while because being kind of codependent, I'd love to hang on, but at some point in time, my head would be thinking things, my stomach would be turning. Knowing that, though, I still wouldn't say, okay, I'm walking out. I knew it was at that point, but I wouldn't say I'm walking out. Kept it, trying to keep it going. Like, I mean, if you look at my addiction, I don't know how many women I had over my house, into my addiction, I had about 10 or 12 bags of plastic bags full of clothes. None of them fit. Right? All women's clothes, right? Because all the women I tried to save, I couldn't even save myself.
Yeah.
And then go into recovery, and then you sit there and you look at the women in the rooms, and I'm not going to say that everybody does this, but I'm going to say that a good portion, guys and girls, do that, right? They're looking for that one person they can live with or spend time with, and hopefully it works out.
Yeah.
But when you get 2 bags of trash, and mix it together, there's a lot of jambalaya, crawfish pie that comes out of that.
Well, and I heard this before too, is why the fuck do you want to rebuild? You know, in the rooms, we're just a bunch of rebuilds, right? And the fact of the matter is this: you deserve something brand new because you put the work into yourself. So if you put the work into yourself, go and get brand new. You know.
But there's an issue there too, right? Because you can, and I did date a woman fairly early in my recovery. She was not in the rooms, and she was so-called normal.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, she wasn't normal. Another lady in the apartment building told me to get away from her because I was going to end up in trouble, right?
Yeah.
And that was the first one that I went was so-called normal. And I did break it up with her. She didn't get it right away. It took a couple of times to get it into her, right?
Yeah.
And then just recently, that one I went out with that supposedly had 18 years clean.
Yeah.
Well,
time doesn't mean shit.
No, it doesn't,
yeah,
right?
Quality is everything. Yeah. But like I said, I'm sure that one could find love in the rooms. What I do know from fact is that the likelihood of it working out is not likely. And the ones that we do see work out is that 1 in a million.
Yes.
You know, but we know of examples in the rooms of people who went and got normal people, you know, normal girlfriends.
Yeah.
They're not an addict. They don't even understand how we think. Because the reality is this: the world doesn't have to cater to us. No. We need to cater to the world. That's the reality. We need to be a willing participant in the world. For a long time, we were the ones who decided, fuck this, I'm going to be the lone wolf. We always felt like the lone wolf. We always felt like the one out. But really, who was the one who was excluding us? It was us.
Us ourselves, yeah.
You know, we were the ones saying, well, I'm different. I'm not the same as them. And I remember somebody telling me a long time ago, they said, you're unique, but you're not fucking special. There's a big difference between being unique and being special. And when I had heard that, I was so pissed off, right? How fucking dare you, right? But the reality is I'm not special. I'm just like any other average schmuck out there. That's why, like, for instance, in this podcast, I don't seek out your celebrities or those people. I mean, there's no fucking point. They're not relatable to us. You know, it's great that, like, you and I, we were in a meeting at one time and we saw, and I think we can say this out loud, Steven Tyler sitting in a fucking meeting.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. It's great to hear how a rock star recovered, and that's fantastic, and how different his recovery is from us. But for us, that's not what it is. And I'm not saying that his struggle is any different than ours. What I am saying is, we didn't have the privilege to take X amount of time off work. Yeah. We didn't have the privilege of being put into the tabloids. Call that a negative or a positive, however you want to call that. But we didn't have that privilege, right? I respect that he comes into regular meetings. I think that's great, you know. But like I said, the relatableness is not the same. It's just not the same. And that's why I do this with normal people that are just average schmuckers, you know, that can kind of talk like the normal people, the rest of the people, right? So back to relationships. How great was your relationship with yourself? When did you come to realize that your relationship with yourself needed to become number one?
Well, that's probably not been that long ago, really. I mean, it's probably only been maybe a year ago at the most, right?
Yeah.
I realized that all these messed up relationships, I'm trying to find something in someone else that I don't have in myself yet.
Yeah.
Right? I got to like myself. I got to be able to be good with myself in order to be good with someone else.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't be going in the rooms and going, Well, she's fairly new. She looks wild.
Oh, fuck.
I'll take that one.
Beggar.
That's how I took the last one, right? But it taught me a lesson. I actually broke it off with her because I seen it wasn't going anywhere, you know. And it's like when you think about yourself in relationships, like I'm no good. I'm really no good in relationships. So why get involved in one? And I know everybody says, well, if you wait, the right one will come. Mm-hmm. But I remember I had that on Facebook or something, that if I wait for the right one, she'll show up. And some guy, and I said, unless she gets hit by a bus on Facebook thing, right? And some guy comes, don't worry, Larry, I missed the first time, I'll go around the block and get her again, right? And maybe that is true, because that would save me a lot of agony and pain, you know, when you think about it, right?
Well, and I think it's one of these things, like I have another guest that comes on the podcast. His name's Kenny. And we talk about attraction, law of attraction. Mm-hmm. And I think it's one of these things where when we finally can reflect the love that we have for ourselves, we attract that. I mean, there's one example that I know of in my life who is married to a fantastic woman, and she is a normie. He's not a normie. But the reality is, if there's anything that you can say about this man, is he loves himself, like unconditionally, and he has a hell of a lot of respect for himself. He prioritizes his life around caring for himself so he can be available for others. And so, I mean, I think because he does that, that's why he attracted such a wonderful woman. Right.
Yep.
And I think that's really something to live by. You know, what the hell are you doing for yourself? Have you put in the work? I mean, I used to hear this all the time. Have you put in the work to get what you think you deserve? Because if you haven't put in what you should be putting in to get what you think you deserve, well, then you need to start kicking your feet. You got to start working.
Yeah.
You know, and Kenny had an issue with me saying work and earn. He didn't like those words. But I mean, working is achieving your goals in a way that is little bit by little bit. Earning is being able to respect success and not shit the bed on it.
Yep.
Because what woman wants to be attracted to a man that is in fear of success? It's like, I hate to compare it this way, but it's kind of like going to the pound and looking at a dog. You know, if you see that fearful dog and you're a fearful person yourself, you're not going to teach that dog shit.
Yep.
But if you find a dog that's confident and you're not confident, that dog's going to run amok on you. And it's the same thing when women, it's women's responsibility when they're looking at a man to be able to pick a good man, because hopefully their picker ain't fucked up like ours is, right? And that's the truth. I mean, because if it is, all is lost. You know, this is why we get dysfunctional relationships, you know?
Well, another thing I've noticed too, and I've been thinking about lately, is that being the age I'm at, 62, I'm set in my ways. I have certain things I want to do in my life.
Yeah.
So in order for me to be with someone, they kind of got to have the same goals, or we got to bend or mold so that we can do what we want to do, right? I just don't want to sit at home and in my life, like being at home with someone that's not who I want to be, right?
Yeah.
I want to go out and do things, right?
Yeah. I think that's the other thing too, is I guess some people do want to sit back and be retired, you know, or and then there are some who want to be retired and do volunteer work and go and experience life and travel if they can, no matter if it's in country or out of country, whatever it is. And if you have that spirit, I mean, if there's anything that I've learned about people who are addicts, we're very, very adverse at making things happen when it lines up with our spiritual needs.
Yep.
You know, as long as we can maintain that spiritual conquest within our life, we will always follow the path of spirituality. We were asked at the beginning of this new program that we live that to be as willing as we possibly can in order to seek a spiritual experience. And this is why they ask us not to be complacent. Because if we're complacent, we are no longer looking for a spiritual experience in our life, right? And this, again, I think is hand in hand with the relationship. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just to switch gears, what's some of the crazy shit that you heard sponsors doing with their sponsee? So mentors, for normal people out there, that's like a mentor tormenting their mentee.
Well, I don't know if I've heard a lot about it, but when someone says you got to wait a year to do your steps, that's absolutely insane, right? That's one of the things, right? I mean, you don't have to do them right away, but if you do, that's fine. And if you do them, then what do you do next?
Yeah.
Service work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And continue to practice. See, you were talking about complacency.
Yeah.
Well, that's where it comes in, right? So if you don't do your 4 to 9 every day, then it's going to bite you, right? And that's the same thing as getting into a relationship.
Yeah.
You have to work at it every day, and if you don't, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So if one or the other breaks down, it's just not going to happen, right? So
yeah, I mean, if you're working on yourself, I think it works out.
Yep.
Right? It's fucked up how that, because we like to portray that we need to work on them or with them. But the reality is it's all internal. It's all us, right? And when we do that, then all of a sudden our relationships turn around and they become better, right?
Yeah.
One of the crazy things that I heard from sponsors asking their sponsees, well, I guess it's not really crazy, I just think it's more detrimental, was get in front of a mirror and tell yourself that you love yourself. And then they would haul that person into the fucking bathroom of a public bathroom, stand them in front of that mirror and make them tell themselves that they love themselves. Mind-blowing. If somebody's not ready for something like that, you don't fucking push them. That's not your job. Like that's not what you do.
And for some of us, that loving yourself takes a long time.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
When you come from a low self-esteem and a bruised or shattered ego, and with all the resentments you carry, and you're just not going to love yourself right away. It's going to take a period of time and a lot of work.
Yeah.
Right?
And this other shit, like I agree with the 90 and 90 meetings in 90 days. But I think even outside, like working with normal people in a mentoring capacity, one of the things that we need to adhere to is getting out of being comfortable. The second that you're uncomfortable, you're going to perform at a much higher level. And the reason why you'll perform at a higher level is because you have no laurels to rest upon. You have to really work at it. And if you're not really working at it, you're pretty much fucked.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's going to utterly fail. And if it utterly fails, that's okay. However, you have to be ready and willing to get uncomfortable, right?
Yep.
I mean, the rooms kind of do that, but it's a big safety net, right?
Yeah.
I'll bring you in on this conversation too that that Kenny and I had, is that the rooms and AA, CANA, whatever A, becomes a microcosm. And people don't step out of that society to go and indulge in life and the stream of life with normal people. They don't participate in that world. Have you seen that often?
Yeah, I do, and it's like you're inside a box, and you don't want to step outside the box, right? Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of people in the rooms, and basically that's all they do is basically the meetings, and they go home, and everything's about recovery.
Yeah.
You have to, recovery's fine. When you've been in the rooms for a while, you don't have to go to as many meetings.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to the same meeting, right? But a meeting or two a week, and having friends outside the fellowship, normal friends, right? People you go out and have supper with or go camping with. If they drink, you don't have to drink. That's totally your own choice now, right?
Yeah.
And I've realized that because myself, I'm a little like that. But now I've got a few friends that I'm meeting with once a month, and I'm looking at what I do. I work out and stuff like that, right? And it's things just to help me feel better about myself, right?
Yeah.
And and so my temper's not as bad as it used to be, right? I'm at work, I'm good. I mean, there are bad days, but because of the fellowship and doing the steps and meeting the people in the rooms, my life is that much better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and well, relationships will come. You know,
Yeah.
for me, it's not a life or death anymore. Like I used to want to have a girlfriend or someone to be with all the time, but you know what? I'd rather be comfortable with myself than uncomfortable in a relationship with somebody else. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it usually doesn't take too long before you know it's not working. It's just that most people don't want to admit it and don't want to get out of it, right?
Mm-hmm. I just had an experience a little while ago where I was stopped by a cop, and so for all of you who are listening, I live in a ghetto, and I get stopped by police frequently, and this time it was a little bit different, and the reason why it was different was I told them straight out I'm in recovery, and the police officer really recognized me, you know, more so my tattoo than my face. And so when this was the first time ever in my life, a police officer asked me for my name and didn't run it through a computer. I was blown away, you know, and I started realizing, like, when we change, we really change. And I think whether you be an addict or a normal person, when a change happens, a change really happens. And when that happens, everything changes. You know, it's not just you or internally you. It becomes everything that you touch, everything that you're encountering, everything that may have an affliction in your life. It's not just your perspective that changes. It's the whole course, the way that it was presented to you, everything changes. And when I was talking to this police officer, he had come to realize that he had investigated me when in the gang unit, when he was part of the gang unit, and that was a pretty how would I say, spiritual experience, I guess. You know, to see that full circle around. You know, I wasn't apprehensive, and of the police, I wasn't afraid for them to pull me over. I mean, I'd probably be shitting bricks if I was in a vehicle, because that's a little bit of a different story. But when you're walking the street, there's not much that they can really do, right?
Yep.
And so that was a little bit strange. But I had realized when they talk about this, what do they say? Moral psychic change.
Mm-hmm.
That moral psychic change is far beyond you. And again, we go back to that law of attraction. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So when we're working on ourselves and we become the best that we could possibly be, then you're going to attract the best that can possibly be attracted to you, right? Back to crazy sponsors. I'm going to go to a sponsee. So there's this person I was working with, and it was early in my recovery. And I can motivate people fairly easily. So anyways, this guy, he calls me up, and he was sitting in a bar, and he says, "Justin, I don't know what you told me, but I'm fucking cured." And I said, "Pardon?" And he said, "I don't know what the fuck you said to me, but I'm cured." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, I'm sitting in a bar. I could order 4 beers and walk away. I can actually drink like a normal person now." I said, "Where are you?" He said, "Well, I'm walking out of the bar. I told you I could drink 4 beers and I'm okay." I said, "It works so fucking well. I'm going to go into another bar and find out if I can do it again." Right? There's that insidious insanity.
Yeah.
Right? Just craziness.
And I think we can drink or use like normal people.
I think, you know what, I hate to say this, but with the legalization of pot, I think we're going to see a bunch of addicts go in relapse to see if they can use, see if it's any different than what it was before, right?
Well, when it first came out and it was talking about it on Facebook, a lot of people that I know that are in the rooms, "Oh yeah, I'm going to get some. Oh yeah, I'm going to get some. Oh yeah, I'm going to get some." I'm going, "Well, wait a minute, you guys, aren't you in the program? If you absolutely positively need it because there is something wrong with you, fine." But I think a lot of people just look for an excuse so they can have it, right?
Well, and I think that's the other thing too is it's like I don't know what the novelty is, because the reality is it's just like beer, right? Just because beer is, you can drink beer, it's legal. It doesn't mean that I can drink it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A fucking Listerine is legal too. Doesn't mean you should drink it, right? I mean, it's the same. It's the same idea, you know. And I think for some of us, it's not going to change. I think there's going to be a huge relapse, and people are going to go, "Oh shit, I guess I just did relapse," right? And then come back into the rooms. But I venture to say that it's going to make our lives better. I think legalization of marijuana is gonna make our lives better. And the reason why I say that is not so many people are going to go to jail for stupid reasons.
Yeah.
It's such a stupid fucking reason. You know, like even cocaine possession. That's a ridiculous reason to go to jail. That's an addictive behavior. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you're caught with 1 or 2 little halves on you, I mean, what the hell, right?
Fuck, even an ounce. What does it matter? I mean,
Well, if it's all in one bag and it's yours, yeah, what the hell?
Like my addiction was an ounce a day. That's what I blew through my nose every fucking day.
Mine was an 8-ball, but that's only because I couldn't afford an ounce a day.
Yeah,
right.
I could have helped you out back then, Larry.
Where in the hell were you?
I think I was probably selling French Coke then.
Well, I'll tell you, when you get on that drug and then you talk about relationships, and you know, it didn't take me long. Get on the phone and get on the chat lines and look for the woman of my dreams, right?
Oh fuck, here we go.
Yeah, right. And that's just crazy, because they'd come over and, you know, it was the kinky stuff, if they did stay and all that shit, and right, they're there and, oh, you can stay, I'll take care of you, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Right?
There's the fucking hero coming over.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. Jesus Christ, man.
I remember when I had realized girlfriends are stupid. What I need to be is a pimp. Okay, I remember that thinking, fucking as clear as the sun came up this morning. Okay, I remember literally being up at 5 o'clock in the morning and really making a life decision, high and drunk, right? And my life decision was, fucking pimping is where it's at. I mean, shit. You can only sell coke and heroin to so many people. Not everybody likes that shit, but you know what everybody loves? Pussy. Everybody loves pussy.
I'd have to agree with you.
So even fucking women love pussy.
Yeah,
right?
unbelievable.
So when I made that decision, I went to my family and I asked them to back me up, and they gave me the financial fortitude to do so. And I promptly went to work. And when I started promptly getting to work, I had made a deal with the police in a town in Canada where I basically told them that I was going to open up shop. And when I opened up shop, I was going to take out all of the street prostitution. And I told the cops that they didn't have to worry. I'll go after the pimps on the street, right? So this business plan of mine was working out pretty good. I mean, pretty easy business plan. And cops were happy with what I was doing, and then all of a sudden, what I did, because it was this town was in Ontario, and women are allowed to walk around topless, and it was by a Parliament building, in the town that I was in Ontario. I got these women to walk by the Parliament building, topless, handing out my card.
That's insane, man.
Fucking can't even fail. Can't even fail, right? It wasn't enough that I went to the police as brazen as I did and said, hey, I'm going to take care of your underage prostitution problem. I'm going to bring all these Johns into fucking houses. I'm going to go and rub it in your face by making shirtless women walk up and down the fucking main street of your city, handing out my escorting fucking card. Oh my God. Business took off though.
Well, you know, that's just the insanity of it, right? When I'm in my addiction, there's one woman in the neighborhood, she was absolutely freaking insane, right? She got on drugs. She was over a couple of times, and we did our little thing. And one day I said to my boy, he was there, I said, don't bring that bitch over. She's absolutely crazy. You don't want her here. Well, somehow she got more money out of the ATM than $20, so they were partying, I was partying, and I ended up going to pick up a vehicle because I was going fishing. How the hell I was going to arrange that? I was hiring a kite. And I got back, and the cops were all over my place. the girl had said to the cops that the boys had raped her. So I pull up, and the cop says, "Do you live there?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I do." He says, "Well, the lady told us that those guys raped her." I said, "Well, I don't think so." I said, "Because when I left, she was smiling, she was happy, I said, she's probably mad because they smoked all her fucking crack, right?" And he says, "Well, she's saying that." I said, "You know what? I don't believe that's possible because I'm pretty sure if you got $5, she'll do anything you ask her to do." And he goes, "How do you know this?" He said, "Did you bang her?" I said, "Yeah, I have." That's the way he put it to me. And I said, "She's absolutely, totally insane."
Yeah.
But she could know how to give a good blowjob.
There was a time, so I was dating this girl, and in French I used to call her Mogidun, and she thought it was a term of endearment. Really, what it means is my slut. Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
For all you Anglophones down in America listening. And so, anyways, I used to call her this all the time, and my friends were French, or are French. And so we were sitting in a bar, and I was saying, "Viens sit, mon guidon," which means "come here, my slut." And she would just come and bring me a beer, all happy. And, my friends would howl, and I was with this woman for a long time. And so finally my friends told her. They thought it'd be more funny to see her freak out than to play along. So they told her what I've been calling her for the last year of her life. So she got quite upset. And I was standing outside this bar, and I was having a cigarette. And I was selling Coke because, that's how you pay for your beer, right? Yep. And so here I am selling Coke, and the cop's down the street. And this girl goes down to the cops and tells the cops that I'm selling Coke in the bar. And then I have a bunch of Coke in my pocket. Unbeknownst to her, my guy in the bar has the Coke because I'm going outside. You just don't bring drugs in your pocket outside the fucking bar, right? Like, you don't, that's stupid business, right? So I knew I had put $120 in her pocket, and we were like common law married. We weren't even really married. We were just common law. So she's saying all this shit, and I'm like, fuck, search me. And put my hands up, and the cop's searching me or whatever. And there's no drugs on me. And I said to the cop, he goes, "Why would she be saying this?" And I said to the cop, I said, "Well, it's because she's a hooker, and I kind of shortchanged her after my blowjob." And he said, "Excuse me?" I said, "Well, yeah, she solicited me for sex. So I paid her $120 for a blowjob, but it was supposed to be $140. I shorted her by $20. So they found the $120 in her pocket. Fucking bitch went to jail, and she got a soliciting charge. She got a soliciting charge, and she's calling me for bail, right? "You come pick me up. I got a promise to appear. Can you pull the charge off?" I said, "I can't pull shit off, man. The fucking cops charged you." That's active addiction, right?
Yep.
But if it was all bad, we wouldn't have these stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was some good stuff out there before I really got into the bad shit, Yeah. I mean, doing body shots on a hooker's body, I found that just absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I mean, the very first time I'm in my addiction, and I was on a chat line, I phoned some woman to come over. I didn't know who the hell she was. Mm-hmm. Starting the line, I turn around, she's already buck naked. I go, and my thinking goes, "This is fantastic. This is working great." Right?
Coke dick, you can't get it up.
Well, there's a story about that. Remember that crazy one I told you about? The insane one?
Yeah.
Well, I'd been using for quite a while, and she said, "Well, I'll give you a blowjob." I said, No, it's no good. It won't come up. She says, "Can I try?" What do you think I'm going to say?
Yeah. No.
I said yes, and I'm damned if she didn't get the son of a bitch up. It was unbelievable, right? It was
just the rising fucking dead, right?
Yeah. She raised the Titanic. I couldn't believe it. Holy crap! I have to admit, she was very good at that. She was like one of the best I've ever had. There was 2 or 3 women in my life that knew how to give a real good blowjob.
And all for $5 fucking. Shit, you can't even get a Tim Hortons coffee better than that, right?
That's for damn sure.
Not even 2 of them.
Nope.
Yeah, I remember an active addiction when I was really young, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Trying to get girls drinking. You know, you'd be drinking with them or whatever, and all of a sudden they would say, you know, I'm leaving. Why are you leaving? Because you've puked on yourself twice. What? When did that happen, right? I mean, I had no idea that there was a point in time when you should stop drinking. And my Coke addiction changed all that. You know, Coke sobered me up. Heroin put me to bed. But Coke was a necessity to be moving. I remember a little while near the end of when my addiction was starting to become a problem. My uncle used to, he would get all fucked up on methamphetamine, and he'd get his so-called friends, his buddies, to lock him to a house, and he'd fucking tear the walls out, right? So I decided that might be a good idea for me, so I can go on a tear for a week, right? So I go on this tear, and they fucking padlocked me in. I ended up getting so paranoid because of the methamphetamine. They found me in a fucking closet, and I was crying my eyes out because I thought the world had come to a fucking end, right? I mean, psychedelic, but that's not psychedelic like DMT or shrooms or any of that shit. That's like paranoid. I thought the fucking lights were coming after me from sleep deprivation, right? Yep. I mean, that was did you ever have your Coke get mixed with another drug?
No, thank God I didn't. But when I was doing Coke at times, and when I went to pick up a chick, if I've been partying for days, well, I'd do some E or some MDMA.
Oh, yeah.
So the little pecker would come up.
Yeah. It's funny how we use drugs in order to get things to happen for us. You know what I mean? It literally becomes a way to work normally. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And people, I don't think normal people could really understand why we do that. However, that being said, a lot of people are using Adderall right now in order to maintain the 120-hour work week, you know? And Adderall, folks, is methamphetamine. Mm-hmm. Straight out. That's pharmaceutical methamphetamine, right? And I think we're starting to see that more and more in society, where we're starting to see people using things like Adderall and these drugs in order to stay focused, maintain, organize, and get things done, right?
But eventually it catches up with you sooner or later.
It's the same addiction.
Yep.
You know, and it's like this. When we look at prohibition back in, what was it, the 30s, right? 30s, right? Is that when prohibition happened? I think it was.
Mm-hmm. In the 30s, yeah.
Anyways, when we look at the prohibition, we see alcoholism rates just fucking skyrocket. That's why AA exists, is because of prohibition, okay? Mm-hmm. We have put prohibition on all illicit drugs for a long time. And then essentially what we did was we allowed pharmaceutical companies to change those chemical compounds, but with the same yield of what illicit drugs can do. And we allowed them to sell it to our public.
Yeah, big money talks, right? That's what it's all about.
And now that it's that way, we see a fucking society who doesn't think that they're addicts, but they are addicts, you know? And they're totally hoodwinked. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember the first time I ever did peyote. I can honestly tell you, I met God. I was in the middle of the desert outside of Laughlin. And I was in the hands of God that day. And it's an experience that I'll always hold with me for the rest of my life. Was it real? 100% it was, because I felt all those feelings. Was it a good experience on drugs? 100% it was. Would I do it again? Probably not. Why? Because I'm going to do it again and again and again and again. Yeah. That's the difference between those of us who are addicts and those of us who aren't addicts. I'm not willing. My life is pretty fucking good right now, and I don't need anything to enhance it. I'm okay with the way it is today.
And our problem is the first one.
That's right.
It's the first one, right?
I mean, it would be different if it was like, you know, ayahuasca and you're changing thinking pathology or something of that nature. Yeah. There has been addicts who've taken ayahuasca and that changes their addiction entirely, right? So there can be benefits. but I'm finding and yielding benefits the way that I'm finding them today by being sober without anything coursing through my system. So would I cross that line just to find out? No, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it. Huh?
You know, and that was a hard lesson to learn. That's how many years of addiction that brought me to this place where I can do that, right? And this filters into my normal life. I mean, fuck, I'm willing to try anything in regular life, but I'm not willing to cross that line where I'm no longer in control. I have been out of control on acid. Fucking remember acid? That shit was fun, eh? That was fun.
Well, you know, I remember the first time I took that, it was Orange Barrel, Orange Sunshine, out a small town out north here, and guy handed it to me, and I took it, didn't ask him, then later I said, what is that? He goes, oh, it's acid, Orange Sunshine. I said, oh, yeah. What did it do? He said, don't worry, you're going to find out. And later, as we're wee hours in the morning, we're walking through the country, listening to the crickets, all the others, the bullfrogs, and everything seemed to be heightened. You know what I mean? It's like we're in HD, right? High definition, right? That's what it seemed like, right? And the stars seemed that much brighter. I remember those days, but they were early, right? And I know if I took one again, it's just going to mess me up, and there's no reason to do it anymore. I've done my time with the partying, done my time with those crazy bitches, although I still get involved with them once in a while. Yeah, I mean, like, when you think about this, like I said before, I did some coke, and I was worried I wouldn't get it up, so I took a pill. I think it was MDMA or ecstasy. I took a pill, and then I went down to 118th. Because I want to pick up a chick. Yeah,
that's hooker row.
And so then I asked the cab driver, I said, hey, can you drive me around so I can pick up a chick? And he tells me to F off.
Yeah.
So I ask another one.
How fucking dare he?
Yeah.
You know, you just want to get laid in the back of his fucking vehicle. What the fuck? What's a tip for, prick?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'll wipe this stuff up. And I asked another guy, and he says, sure, get in the back. Well, like an idiot, I jump in the front. And there's a rule out there. If you pull up and you're in a cab and you're in the back and you ask the woman to get in, she'll get in. If you're in the front, she won't get in. Yeah. So then after a couple of tries, I realized this. Then I jumped in the back, and the story goes, I picked up a lady, and away I went home and had my fun, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't always fun, because you'd have to worry about if you're going to get stabbed, ripped off, right?
Yeah.
So in the end, you know, being up at 5 or 6 or 7 in the morning, having some person come into your house you don't know.
Yeah.
Right? I was just bloody lucky not to get killed or the shit kicked out of me or whatever, right? But that was the drugs. They take your basic instincts and you just go nuts, right?
I mean, I think that's the other thing too, is there's very little compassion for addictive behavior, right? They want to see addictive behavior become adjudicated, something that needs to be punished. Yeah. But the reality is it needs to be rehabilitated. Yeah. It's a behavioral issue. Yeah. I mean, just because somebody's murdered doesn't make them a murderer, okay? It means that they've committed an act of murder. It doesn't make them a murderer.
Nope.
Somebody who's a murderer is somebody who's killed more than once and did it for the pleasure of.
Actually planned it out, right?
And even if it's manslaughter, that's only somebody who's committed manslaughter. Yep. They're not a manslaughterist. We don't say that, right? No. And it's just like, it's the same thing with murder, right? You have to murder more than once to become a murderer.
You know, I was only lucky in my addiction because I never did pick up a gun. I mean, I had an axe one time and a baseball bat in my hand. And Lord knows what, if I ever would have used them, I still wouldn't have been a killer or a murderer. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't have felt good, and I would have probably ended up in jail, right?
Well, and I think that's the other thing, too, is our actions don't define who you are for the rest of your life. Yep. I mean, I was a pimp. But as I said, I was a pimp. I'm not a pimp. I was a pimp, right?
Yep.
I was an extortionist. I was a drug dealer. I was many things, right? What I am today is me.
Yeah, but how did you do that? Well, I'm thinking, how did you do that? Here I am, knowing this guy named Justin, and the first time I met him, he told me some of his story. He wouldn't want to meet this guy on the other side of the street in his addiction.
Yeah.
And then he goes into recovery, and it becomes a night.
Yeah.
philosophy chasing the priesthood, but that's sort of gone aside and trying to help other convicts and setting up a house. How do you go from A to Z, right? I mean, wow, right? I just...
Well, and I think it's one of these things where we have to recognize where we come from, right? I think it's one of these things where the tragedy is this. Some of us were afforded an ability to be given a second chance without having to scrape up from a different bottom. And there are some of us who are coming from a bottom that is so reprehensible that it carries a scarlet letter on you for the rest of your life.
Yep.
And because of that scarlet letter, it makes it very difficult to change. I was in a conversation with somebody a little while ago where we said, we'll give you, as society in Canada, we'll give you $600 a month to get high. We'll give you that. We even fucking know that you're using, okay? We know that you're homeless. We know that you're going to piss it away on cocaine. We know that when you don't have money, it's okay to be a prostitute, right? We know that. We actually accept that in our society. But what we don't stand for in Canada is if you get charged and convicted. So basically don't get caught.
Yeah.
Right? That's a bunch of horseshit. That's such a bunch of horseshit. And the only reason why I changed, I'm not going to say this is the only reason. The reason why I do what I do today is because I'm so high profile within society with the people that I work with. So I work with government people. The likelihood of being hurt is less likely because of what I do. If I didn't do what I did or what I do today, the likelihood of me being hurt and having retributions coming at me for the things that I've done in my life would be more likely. Yeah. So, and I like helping people. I mean, I remember when I finally read Step 12 and it said that I had to work with others. That was the whole fucking motivation of getting my steps done. Not even shitting you. It was the whole fucking motivation. I wanted to get them done and get them done well. Not even for me in the beginning. I did it so that I could pass it off. Because I had this idea that I was half okay. And then when I hit Step 5, it all fucking turned around. Right? It's like when you hear me talk about to the newcomer and I say, you know, there's no point in talking about active addiction. There's really not, because we all know what it is and it fucking sucks. And family members who watch people go through it, they know it fucking sucks too. The only point that we need to talk about is I know what suicide tastes like, and that's the cold steel of a shotgun in my mouth. I understand what hopelessness feels like. That's thinking that you'll never see the light of day again because you're standing in a cell. For me, that's what it was. And I understand what it takes for determination to happen even when you don't believe in it. Okay? And then I also know what it feels like for a miracle to happen. I know what that feels like. And when you feel a miracle of that magnitude, where you're given something that should not happen, it should not happen. There's no other way to explain it, but it is a miracle. You can't deny the force of a power greater than yourself is around you. As much as I should be fucking dead. I should be dead today for some of the things that... I mean, I've been blown up. Literally fucking blown up. Okay? I have no scars. I have no missing limbs. Okay? I should be dead today. And by that miracle of getting out of jail, which should have never happened, that's what the catalyst was, that where I finally realized that my higher power believed in me.
It's probably because you met that old guy in the rooms.
That helped. I mean, I think that's a big deal. The way how we do go to meetings and we meet people in treatment centers, so on and so forth.
And we run into people that we actually gel with and we get along with, and we form a bond, a relationship with them, right? Those are the good ones that you can bank your life on and know that people will help you.
Yeah.
Right? And not everybody in the rooms is like that, unfortunately, right?
Yeah, no.
And that's where you kind of you sit back, you watch, and you pick your stuff. And unlike you, I didn't do the steps because I wanted to help someone. I only did the steps because I didn't think they'd work.
Well, and I guess that's what I'm getting at is when I first started doing the steps, I wanted to do them and prove that they didn't work, but I was going to do them the way that you told me to do them to show you that they didn't work. And then by about step 3, I had realized that I could help somebody with this because I was trying to evangelize the whole fucking world, right? And then when I hit step 5, I realized I'm a real sick fucker. And then when I went and did,
I knew that a long time ago.
and then when I hit step 9, making my amends, I'll tell you, there's been times in my sobriety where I thought about relapsing. Okay, I am a first-time kicker, so relapse isn't a part of my story today. But I've had bouts where I thought about it. One of the things that pulled me back was having to make amends to my mom again. Fuck me. Like, that was the one thing where I thought to myself in my head, you've gone through all the bullshit that you've gone through to this point so you can get through today. This today is no worse than having to stand in court thinking that you were going to get 14 fucking years, right? There's no difference. Well, how is this any harder, right? And for anybody to sit there and say that, in recovery, they never thought about relapse, you're a damn bullshitter. I mean, it happens, and it's okay to rat yourself out. It's okay that those thoughts, they're only thoughts. They're not fucking actions. And as long as you go and tell somebody that it's happened, the thought can be corrected. The behavior can be stemmed,
As long
right?
as you don't act out on it, right?
I mean, that's the big thing. I mean, and it's the same thing with anything else. If you're addicted to working out and you're working out to the point where you're fucking hurting yourself, well, then you need to really look at that. If you're eating to a point where you're starting to hurt yourself, then you need to look at that, right? If you're fucking women until your pecker's falling off, you need to look at that. You know, I mean, that's an issue.
I wish.
You know, if the fucking Shoppers Drug Mart or the London Drugs down in America, if they know that you're coming in every fucking Thursday for Vaseline, you have a fucking problem, okay? That's an issue. That's an issue. If your cable bill knows that your internet is mostly filled with porn sites, that's a fucking problem, okay?
Just switching addictions.
Well, Larry, that's about an hour.
All righty.
So
it was a good time. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
So let's wrap this up again. I'm gonna plug our Patreon page. Take a look at that. Your donations or your contributions would be greatly appreciated. It helps to fund equipment and T-shirts, and also, you know, the things that we need in order to keep this running. So please check out Life on Life's Terms at Patreon. You can also check us out at Justin Roberts' Life on Life's Terms YouTube channel, iTunes, Stitches, Google Play, and whatever the hell you're listening to me on right now. Continue to listen. Please hit that subscribe button, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye for now.
Thanks. It was great.